It sometimes feels like a price is being put on our life, and that isn't right.
They just look at you as a walking corpse.
You know, I am living probably their worst nightmare.
It is treated like a curse.
They can't understand that there's no happy ending, no getting better.
No, let's not use the money for treatment because she's gonna die anyway.
Thinking about my kids is difficult.
I am
Advanced
Breast cancer.
Welcome to the next session. We have Ms. Cara Magsanok Alikpala as our moderator.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. I will be your moderator for this session, Advanced Breast Cancer, Courage and Composure in the Midst of Uncertainty. Once you're told you have advanced breast cancer or your cancer spread to other parts of your body, you feel many things at the same time. You're shocked, you're stunned, you're depressed, you're angry, maybe even guilty for not taking care of your health. Many things, it's very overwhelming. But you need to find your center, and you will. We'll learn more about this later from a breast cancer patient with advanced breast cancer. We will also talk to a psychologist who is part of the ABC Alliance, or the Advanced Breast Cancer Alliance, of which ICANSERVE is a proud member. The video you saw earlier was produced by the ABC Alliance, a multi-stakeholder platform for organizations committed to develop, promote, and support awareness and actions that will improve and extend the lives of patients living with advanced breast cancer worldwide. They're also fighting for a cure to breast cancer. You can join the conversation by putting your comments or questions on the chat box. Feel free to tag us on your posts. Our hashtags are hashtag SEABCS 2022, CBCS Philippines, and CBCS Manila, and CBCS PH. Now let's hear more from our friend at ABC Alliance. Her name is Luzia Travado, live from Barcelona. Over to you, Luzia.
Hello, everyone. I am Luzia Travado. I'm a clinical psychologist specialized in psycho-oncology, and I work at the Champalimaud Clinical Center in Lisbon, Portugal. And I also am President Emeritus of the International Psycho-Oncology Society, and have recently had the pleasure of receiving the Jimmy Holland Memorial Award. IPOS is collaborating with the ABC Global Alliance, and it is my big pleasure to be here with you under this collaboration to discuss the psychological impact of ABC disease in patients and their partners. So thank you for having me. So I will be discussing a little bit some of the reactions of living, emotional reactions, and what can psychologists do to help you along this journey of living with a chronic disease. So there are many challenges about living with chronic incurable disease, which may reduce your survival time. There are frequent medical procedures with chronic side effects that impact on your occupational life, with some symptoms such as pain, fatigue, cognitive impairment, sexual dysfunction, practical concerns, at the level of your professional life, at the family roles, and also financial strains due to the treatments. And people who endure metastatic breast cancer are also at risk for emotional distress, which includes symptoms of depression and anxiety, as well as existential distress and loneliness. This stress peaks around the time of diagnosis and then declines in the year, but it also tends to peak at each time the disease progresses. And almost 1/3 of women with metastatic breast cancer meets the criteria for a depressive disorder, and 6 meet the criteria for an anxiety disorder. So this is not a small thing. It really impacts a lot women who have this disease, this phase of the disease. Usually they describe it as living in an emotional roller coaster. So during the day, they can have all sorts of emotions, being happy, being depressed, being more optimistic, being more pessimistic. And the people who live with them, being the partners, the family, the caregivers, need to adjust to that and see it as normal, because having to do a treatment every day and living with this uncertainty of what life is going to bring you and what to expect is quite difficult. Although this tends to come with treatment, have a certain regularity, and things tend to achieve some kind of control, which you will learn to have. So patients tend to describe, patients who have been diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer tend to describe it as very scary, very confused, feeling depressed, angry, and alone. And the main concerns have been described as fears of dying from this disease, quality of life concerns because of the possible side effects of the treatment they have to endure and do for the rest of their life, concerns for the ability to care for their own family, and end-of-life care, if they would have good palliative care and if they will not suffer. The most frequent symptoms and side effects from metastatic breast cancer and its treatment are fatigue, insomnia, pain, hot flashes, cognitive problems, hair loss, sexual problems, depression, anxiety, neuropathy, loss of appetite and nausea, and many others. These are the most frequent. So this is a big deal for a person to be feeling every day. This is a big burden. And a good friend of mine who has been enduring metastatic breast cancer for 9 years now and has suffered many progressions and many treatments. She describes it as suffering from a chronic and incurable illness. We aren't able to get back to our former life. We need permanent therapy. We have to come to terms with side effects and pain. We are exposed to a great psychological burden and need psychological support if possible. We aren't usually able to work full-time anymore. We have to deal with persistent financial losses. We are forced to give up and restrain our life dreams. We bring challenges to our families and to our personal surroundings, and we are suddenly faced with end of life. So the diagnosis of metastatic breast cancer and its progressions bring a crisis to the person that she needs to adjust so as to then cope better on the emotional side and make it part of their life and their usual life. So on the first on the first part, they will need to make sense of what is happening to them, and they make a lot of questions. Then they are faced with many emotions, and then there are many coping tasks that they need to do as to adjust. So mainly maintain hope and directions, tolerate medical care, enhance their coping skills, maintain open communication with family, friends, and healthcare professionals. That's of utmost importance. Open communications and bringing out what are your concerns, fears, doubts is most important to your doctors, but also to your partners and to your friends. It's important. Do not keep it inside. Bring it outside so that you may receive help for it. Assess treatment and care options and choose your preferred ones, mostly related with the type of side effects they will bring, and maintain good relationships with your medical team. That's very important because they will be the ones that will accompany you throughout this journey. Your survival goals will be maintaining your dignity, your focus, your role in work, family, and in your community. And there are many professional interventions, psychological and not only, that will help you throughout the process and will help you in this coping and adjustment tasks that you need to do as to create a new balance and a new control in your life as to make it regular. You need to really find a new balance in your life as to be able to live with it happily, if possible. So the National Comprehensive Cancer Network has coined this term distress as to define the type of emotional reactions that patients with the diagnosis of cancer or metastatic cancer feel, because all patients diagnosed with cancer feel distressed. There is an impact, an enormous impact in the emotional side because cancer touches all dimensions of a person's life, and it's normal that it creates sadness, fears, and concerns which patients have to adjust to. In early breast cancer, 32% of patients do have more severe forms of distress, and advanced breast cancer, 60% of patients do not adjust so well and need professional support to adjust to these more severe forms of emotional reactions, which go into this depression, anxiety, and maladjustment. There are many forms of accessing this distress, and this is the distress thermometer, which has been used in many, many countries and validated, and is just this one sheet, and patients can complete it in less than 5 minutes, in which they are asked, please circle the number that best describes how much distress you have been experiencing in the past week, including today. And from 0 to 10, they can describe the level of distress. And the professional, the healthcare professional, knows from the level. If the patient is too distressed, they need to be referred to the mental health specialist, mostly a psycho-oncologist, who can be a psychologist such as myself, but also it can be a psychiatrist or a specialized social worker, or eventually a nurse specialist, onco specialist. But the more severe forms really require a mental health expert. And here you also have a practical problem list with from practical problems, family problems, emotional and spiritual problems, and physical problems, which also include not only the regular ones, side effects of chemotherapy, but also others which can impact your life with your partner, such as sexuality and others, which are important to be discussed with your healthcare team to be improved. But the good news is there are a number of psychological interventions specifically designed for metastatic breast cancer patients that help you reduce your emotional reactions from reduce your depression, reduce your anxiety, so that you can live better with the circumstance of having this metastatic breast cancer disease and endure this journey in a more positive way. There are clinical practice guidelines that help psychologists and psycho-oncologists to deliver evidence-based care and interventions. There are many, as I mentioned, types of therapy that can help you throughout the process, some that have even shown benefits on survival and benefits, of course, in reducing depression and death anxiety. It's important that couples also undergo this type of support together, because the communication is quite important between both of them, so that this is not just for the patient, but for both of them, because both of them are part of this together, and it's important that the partner also supports the patient and feels that they are included, and really indeed they are part of the team as the biggest support that the patient can have. So we psychologists will be very happy to have our patients' partners, caregivers, or family members closest to our patients to come to our consultations, so as to hear their doubts, concerns, as to best help both of you deal with this circumstance. Many years ago, the International Psycho-Oncology Society, which I mentioned that I am member and president emeritus, have put this new standard of quality cancer care, in which said that psychosocial cancer care should be recognized as a universal human right to patients, and that quality cancer care must integrate the psychosocial domain into your routine cancer treatment and care, and that distress should be measured as the sixth vital sign after pain. And this was endorsed by the International Union Against Cancer in 2010, and more than 75 organizations worldwide has signed it. So nowadays, it should be part of your cancer treatment to have the opportunity to have psychological support embedded in your treatment. And I would like to finalize with a recent study that we have been published and disseminating, which shows that indeed psychological support is not only improves your quality of life because it reduces your negative emotions, but it also has an expression at the biobehavioral level. And implications on your clinical outcomes. I had the privilege of being the principal investigator of this Distress Brain project, which was funded by our national governmental funds, and had this incredible multidisciplinary team from diverse centers. And we have studied how much the negative emotions, which we know that metastatic breast cancer women experience a lot, how much does it impact on their clinical outcomes, and how much does it influences immune dysregulation at the level of the brain and also at the microenvironmental level. Because we know that depression may reduce survival, and also we have evidence that psychological interventions such as cognitive behavioral stress management interventions for metastatic breast, for breast cancer patients benefits patients' adaptation, including longer survival. We have not tested it in metastatic breast cancer, but we want to do it so. And in this study, in which we have conducted it in our center, and 60 metastatic breast cancer patients were enrolled, the main results illustrated that negative associations between distress and metabolism activity in specific regions were found, so that distress impacted on a reduced metabolism in specific brain regions that were important for the adaptation to the stressful situations that our patients were enduring. That patients that perceived as having less efficacy in stress management skills have greater levels of distress. So this means that if they learn how to adjust better, how to have better coping skills with their stressful situations, they would reduce their distress levels. Patients who have greater distress had a flatter cortisol diurnal slope, which means that having a neuroendocrine dysregulation, and that also they have higher inflammation if they had lower levels of social and family support and well-being. And this is illustrated in these tables. I'm not going to undergo into this. These blue areas here are the ones that show a reduced lower metabolism related with the distress higher levels. And these are important areas for adaptation. Here you see, for instance, that patients with cognitive coping had less distress, which is important. So we can teach our patients to have higher relaxation skills and higher coping skills, which help them to reduce their distress levels. Here we show that patients who have higher distress levels have a flatter cortisol slope. And here patients who have lower levels of social and family well-being have higher inflammation. So this shows that it is important to screen patients' levels of psychological distress, and so that to best identify patients who are at risk for psychological suffering and who may best benefit from psychological interventions as to improve patients' adaptation to their condition and to possibly also improve their clinical outcomes. So indeed, having psychological support embedded in your treatment in care, it does not only improve your quality of life, which solves or lifts up your emotions, but also impacts at the biobehavioral level, which has an impact on your clinical outcomes. And this is just a chart from my good friend that I told you that she has been living with metastatic breast cancer for 9 years now. She's Claudia Popicek. She has a blog and she explains how she deals with her disease. And she says that she has, and I've asked her for publishing this, presenting this slide, because I have asked her What do you do to keep such a positive attitude throughout your life? And she said, there is 10 ways for a life with cancer. So she said, put stars on your light chain of life. So go to holidays, concerts, do as much of a life as possible. Accept your illness and live with it as a co-pilot. Let yourself fall into a social net consisting of family and friends. Find yourself a competent and empathetic oncologist. Get psychosocial help. Look for a fulfilling task, work, or hobby to do. Concentrate on your personal needs and choose your own way. Try to make out all the positive aspects in this negative situation. Collect information on your illness as well as all therapy options. Be active and live here and now as much as possible to enjoy your life the best as possible and as much as possible. So this was my contribution, and let's hear Bangge speaking, and then we will have a conversation all together. So thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Luzia, for framing the conversation today. With me today is Bangge Mabanta, a patient with advanced breast cancer, a dear friend. She's a board member of the ICANSERVE Foundation. She's also a professional singer who has traveled the world to perform. She's an amazing human being and a very good patient counselor. Whenever I see her with a patient, you know, she just has to give you the look and hold your hand, and you're already healed. Let's hear more about her story. Over to you, Bangge. Thanks for being here.
Beautiful introduction. How can I follow that? Thank you, Cars. Well, maybe I should start with how, from the very beginning, I was first diagnosed with breast cancer in 2005. That time, my sons were 8 and 5 then. So I was just thinking of getting healed. That's the only thing that came into my mind. I want to survive this one. I want to fight this one because my kids were too young then, and I don't want them to be motherless at that age. Maybe, I don't know if I didn't have time to be depressed at that time, but you know, my mindset was, I'll beat you, cancer. I'll beat you, cancer. And I begged the Lord I just want to see them graduate grade school. That's my goal. That was my goal. And then, you know, fast forward 17 years after, before the pandemic, I felt a lump again on my right breast, my other breast. And I told my son, I went to my son, Miguel, he's here. I told Miguel, you know, if this is cancer, which I think it is, because, you know, thanks for the information of ICANSERVE Foundation. You know the symptoms of cancer thing. I don't want to get treatment anymore because God has been very good to me. I saw you graduate grade school, high school, college, and what more can I ask for? But then again, things change. And then I didn't want to go to the doctor then, and maybe denial, or maybe because of the pandemic, I don't want to go to the hospital, but then a lot of prodding I went to my breast surgeon, and true enough, when she saw my breast, she said, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. To what extent, I don't know. She made a core needle biopsy, asked me to PET scan. And then when I came back for the result of my PET scan, the devastating news came that it metastasized already to my bones, to my uterus, pelvis, my lymph node, my brain. I didn't know what to ask. I just said, how long will I live? That was the only question. That was the only question I asked her. And then she said, you know what, live your life the way you want it to be. Like, live it to the fullest. and let the medical team handle your cancer. You cannot, there are things that you cannot handle anymore. So we will do it. We will do it. I asked her if there's a chance for me to be treated. And she said, we'll do the best we can. So the treatment, that I finally decided to have it treated because of my family. Miguel, you want to say something? Because my son said, you know, Mom, I saw how you spoil your kids, your grandchildren from your nephews and nieces. Why don't you give our kids a chance to be spoiled by you? It's like fight for your life. Maybe there's a chance, you don't know. Instead of just giving up. But I told him, then I have to deal with all the side effects again. It's like starting all over again, like 17 years ago. And she said, 17 years ago, we weren't old enough to support you. And now we're here. And thank you. So that's how I decided to do 6 chemotherapy and did all my treatments. Yes.
Miguel, yeah, tell us more about it. I think you're the big supporter and inspiration of your mother.
Yeah, no, I think it was much different from the first time because, like you said, the first time I was still too young to really understand what was really going on. But this time, what the thing that I could give you, you know, when we found out, because it was hard for us as well, finding out that, you know, but the thing that we could give you the most was our undying support, right? So as much as possible, we in the family like to be lighthearted. You know, we love joking around, we love playing around. So one of the things that I told you, it was lucky that my cousins just gave birth to kids then. So one of the things I told her was, you know, play with them, just play with them, you know, have fun with them and stuff like that. You know, who knows? Maybe you can learn to enjoy life through that lens again. I think another difficulty that we had was, you know, it was the middle of the pandemic, so we didn't really know what to do. Fears were coming in, and everything that we could do to make life fun, interesting, and just help my mom live as she wants to live. You know, that's what we gave to her as much as we could.
But this is also something we should do for people who are not sick, don't you think?
Yes, yeah, I think so. I think that's good. That's a good outlook for someone who's going through something, and even for people who are not going through anything. You know, it's having a better outlook in life. I think makes things, I wouldn't say easier, but sort of worth living, worth going through these hardships.
So Marty's the husband of Bangge. Your son has composure and courage. What went through your mind when you found out that Bangge's cancer had spread?
Well, it's not different from the first time she had one. The first one was devastating. The second one was not easier. Obviously, the second one had metastasized to the rest of her body, so it was more. It was scary, you know, for all of us. But we did have some practice prior to this. We used to treat her like a princess. Now we treat her like a queen. You know, we just need to do that, and it's not something we had to do. It's something we wanted to do for her, because it's helpful that we included friends and family to this journey, because maybe it's also helpful that we're Filipinos and we're close knit. So the friends especially the friends, they're very supportive. In fact, it's funny that the first time she had her chemo, she was having she shaved her head, and the rest of my friends did the same thing. They did. I didn't. I like my hair. So they were very supportive. So that was good.
Well, you have faith, you have friends, you have family, you have everything. You have a sense of humor. That helps us keep going. But you, Marty, where do you get your support? Are there times you need to talk to someone? I mean, that you can't, things you can't tell Bangge. Who do you turn to? Who's your support?
Well, my brother-in-law, the husband of my sister, had cancer, and we were asking ourselves, or we were telling ourselves that you guys are lucky because you have your support group in ICANSERVE. We don't. We are trying to go through the same journey as you guys do, but we don't have the same support. But we do get our strength from seeing our partners, Bangge, getting better. And it does help that our friends are very positive about the whole thing, always.
I want to bring in Luzia into the discussion. Luzia. Hi, Luzia.
From Barcelona. I am in Barcelona.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone there.
Hi.
I'm happy to join. Hi, Bangge. Hi,
Hello,
Marty.
good to see you again.
Nice to see the whole family. I'm happy to also get to know the son of both of you very well. I think that's very nice to bring the full support. And that's quite important because all of you are Bangge's support and the support of each other. So thank you for that. Kara, tell me.
Yeah. Luzia, in Southeast Asia, not everybody can afford professional psychological help, especially those with extreme depression. How do you suggest they cope if they can't afford professional services?
Well, I know that patient organizations like the Reach to Recovery, for instance, and this can be a good way to find support, such as peer support. And I know that some of the patients have had education on how to give, let's say, more not professional, but adequate psychological support so as to lift up the morale of the patients that have undergone, that are undergoing this situation by people that have already coped with these problems. And at least it helps not to be isolated. One of the big problems of being depressed is being isolated, because the person thinks that the problems are only of them and that they feel awkward and different. And if they share the problems that they are having and see that the other women that are undergoing the same problems, the same situation as far as the disease, have the same types of problems, and they share the ways of coping, this can be very helpful. And they not feel so isolated, and they can even be cheerful in the ways of coping. As I don't remember the son of Bangge, what's your name?
Miguel.
Miguel, oh, Miguel, it's like a Portuguese name. So the joy, it's quite important to bring the joy to life. And in the beginning, as you all mentioned, there is this bang in the stomach of the diagnosis. As Bangge said, I don't want to do more treatment. There's nothing to do. but then you have to react and see the opportunities. Let's try, let's see what I can do, and let's see how it goes. Let it roll, as it say. And then you are there, Bangge, and you are functioning so well. So that's so hopeful that other women see that, and you have a strong support from your family, and that's so much important. And that's the way it should be, not to give up, but go on and give life an opportunity, because life is very strong. And keep together, as you were saying. If there are no professionals around, so go to your patients' associations, try to ask from your friends, do you know anyone who has gone through breast cancer? And try to connect with them, and they probably know other resources. So that's the best way.
Thanks, Luzia.
That's my suggestion.
Thank you. Bangge, I just want to ask you, at what point did you feel, I got this, I'm in control, and you were able to keep yourself calm? When did that happen for you?
Not yet. No, but I think when I started my doctor's appointment, and he said that, okay, this is our plan. This is our plan. We'll control the brain first, the brain tumor, and the rest. When I had a clearer plan, then I told myself, maybe I'll just follow it. And even my son said, let the doctors do it. Let not cancer take over your life. You have a life to live. Cancer is not part of your plan. So not put aside, but do not dwell on it. It's just that, like what you said, Lucy, I'm just so lucky to have a very supportive family. My husband is very supportive, and my kids also. I thought motherhood ends there. I thought when motherhood is just like when they were young, but now I appreciate more, like dealing with cancer. They're grown up already, and more or less I know more my path through them, through the help of my kids also.
There's a message from the chat box. You are not alone, Bangge. Good, your family looks at your situation in a very positive way. Yeah, she has a very good team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Team Mabanta for taking care of Bangge.
Thank you.
So Bangge, what message do you have for people going through the same thing with you as you are?
I saw the bottle. I think hope is a very powerful word. Sometimes we take it for granted, but hope. If you lose hope, no best doctors, no best medicines will work for you. Just keep on hoping. I think it's so powerful to keep on hoping.
Yeah, and I think in Southeast Asia, everybody is very spiritual somehow, and that has helped ground and strengthen everybody's resolve, right,
True.
Bangge? I know we don't have much time, but I just want to ask Bangge this. She's a very good singer, Luzia. I don't know if you know this. I'm going to ask her to sing a few songs that calm you when you're feeling stressed, or a song you want to inspire others with. Go ahead.
It's not wholesome. I'm just joking. There's my favorite song. I want to share it with you also, Lucia.
Thank you.
You've got to give a little, take a little, and let your poor heart break a little. That's the that's the story of love. You've got to cry a little, laugh a little, and let the sun go by a little. That's the that's the glory of love. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Isn't it? Life is not all good. I mean, that's like the song goes, you have to cry a little to appreciate laughter. You have to win to appreciate, you have to lose to appreciate winning. That's life.
let me just say something that I mentioned when we were discussing in the background. The power of having a good husband by your side, and good children, of course. But it's so powerful to have good husband by your side. And I want to reinforce this, and I want Martin, is that the name? No, yes? To really bring up how important was to be by the side of Bangge. It was not easy, but he has such an important role. As I say, you are the most important emotional balance to our patients. And as a psychologist, I value completely your role by our patients. And you are my co-therapist. So please, men out there, partners, do your role, because your women need you and they need your love. And that's the best. Besides hope, love is the word that our patients, our women need in this situation. Right,
Amen.
Marty and Miguel?
Amen to that, Luzia.
Yes, agree.
On that note, I think whether you have early breast cancer or even advanced breast cancer, it's really not about that. I mean, it's really about all of us will be going through stress and anxiety, but cancer patients, cancer survivors like Bangge, or even myself, the moment you're diagnosed, you just kind of get it right away. You have no choice. You have to figure out life. You have to figure out your purpose, your meaning, and you just have to pursue it with a tunnel vision, because you know it can be over in a second. So these are things you can learn from people like us. We feel privileged in a way that we get to get it earlier on than others. Some people find out after a really mega crisis or at their deathbed, when it might be a little too late for the people around them. So we want to thank you, Bangge, Marty, and Miguel. Please keep up the good work you're doing. You're an inspiration to all of us. Bangge, you will live a long, long, long life. I assure you. With your attitude, you're a winner. You're a winner, I'm sure.
Thank you, Cara.
And don't forget, you have all of us here at the ICANSERVE Foundation and everybody watching here. And I know you did this for people going through the same thing. It's not easy to be here. Thank you to your family. Thank you for sharing. And to all the people who support Bangge, my goodness, amazing. I heard you form prayer groups. You pray every day for her. You do it together. No one can do this alone. Please try to form a team the way Bangge has or the way her family has. Get good doctors you trust, because they will do the job that you really can't do. And once they're doing that, you're in control. That helps a lot. So I hope you don't leave this session unchanged. Be kind, be patient, and be very thoughtful, and be nice to all the cancer survivors. Hear their stories, and if you're one, share your story. It can save another person's life. Thank you for joining us again. See you in the other sessions.